Hi guys, this is Justin from Hinoki Kitchen Craft. I want to demonstrate a product we have available. This is a leather knife strop. The purpose of this tool is to realign the edge of your knife. So if you're familiar with honing rods, or if you've seen barbers and barber shops where they have a strip of leather and they're running their straight razor across that. It's the same principle. They're simply taking the knife as the primary edge of the knife has been used. It's going to slightly bend to one side or the other. So the knife is still perfectly sharp. It just needs a recentering or realignment to bring that primary edge back to where it needs to be. And you can do this very quickly and very easily. It doesn't take much practice. So I prefer to use a leather strop compared to a rod, because the metal or ceramic rods that you're using, each time that you are using that tool, you're actually removing a tiny bit of metal from your knife. And there is the possibility that as you're using that rod, you can scratch the side of your blade. That won't be the case with a leather knife strop. The material is certainly much softer than any knife metal that you're going to be using. So this particular knife strop that I designed, it has an English bridal leather, which has, after I think it has the best resistance that I've found for a piece of leather without needing any extra additional materials put on the leather. So there's no compound that I recommend putting on this. You could certainly do that if you want to, but the benefit of using this particular knife strop is twofold actually. It's the leather, which is out of the box, ready to go. You can strop, and I'll demonstrate that here in a moment, where you can very quickly bring your edge back to center and get it to where you want it within, I'd say, within 30 seconds. And the other advantage of this particular strop is the height that you see here. So this is about 40 millimeters tall. And so that mimics some of the whetstones that you'll see. So if you're familiar with sharpening, the whetstones that you're going to use, often they're put on a holder. So it has some type of height to it so that you can do the basic motions of sharpening, which is something like this. So your hands are here or here, and you have enough clearance from your knife down to the cutting board where you can do the basic operations of sharpening. Often you'll see with strops, with leather strops, is they will be very, very thin. Either their height will be very short or they're very narrow. And they're designed to hold in your hand and strop like this, which works perfectly fine if that's the style that you want. Being a cook for many years and needing to get my knives ready in the morning before I went into the kitchen, I wanted a tool where I could set down on the surface and I could use the leather strop in the same style that I would use a whetstone. So I designed this particular strop with the height in mind for that. And it also has this non-slip tape on here. So any surface that you're going to put it on, it's going to stay in place. There's not going to be an issue with it moving around. So I'll demonstrate how it works, but I think this is much more beneficial than a design where you're holding it in your hand and you're doing this. And again, many people probably love to do it that way. I just had something very particular in mind because I was sharpening my knives, on a weekly basis, using a strop pretty much 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and setting the strop on top of something else, you're piling things on. And so I made the decision to design something that is basically a all-in-one package. You can just set it down, it's not going to slip, and you can go through your motions. And like I said, within 30 seconds, you can realign that edge in most cases. So the Hinoki Leather Knife Strop is what I have here, and I have 6 varieties of this available. So this particular one is a ochre color. It's a tan. I also have a plum, which is a slight purplish color. It may be difficult to see in the light. These are all English bridal leather, aside from one of them that I'll show you in a second. This is I call this espresso. This is a burgundy color. And we have a bluish tint to this one. This is I call it midnight blue. And then a little bit more vibrant color. This is a vermilion. It's a red. So it has the same surface, same leather. And here we have, this is an aniline leather. This is a thinner leather, and it has a little bit more natural oil in it. And this is one of the first designs that I made. So the height of this one is actually a little bit taller. But they all work great. I'm a big fan of them. I highly recommend these for really if you're someone that sharpens your knives regularly, you can use this. If you're someone that doesn't know anything about sharpening, but you care very much about maintaining the sharpness of your knife as you're cooking at home, wherever it is that you're cooking. So it's really just an all-around great tool. Like I described with the honing rods, each time you're using that, you are going to be removing just that little bit of metal, and really because of the surface area of this leather strop, you can, it's much more forgiving. You can quickly find where you want to be. It's a flat surface. You find the angle that you want. It's just much easier. I used honing rods for a number of years, and it certainly took some practice to get it exactly how I wanted it. And they work great, but I always felt like there was something kind of missing from it as far as like how precise you can be. So I can demonstrate how the leather knife strop works. And I have a strop that I've been using for a number of years in my kitchen, and it still works perfectly fine. And like I said, within about 30 seconds, we can get a knife that, after having been used any number of times, the primary edge has moved to the left or to the right, whichever side it is. You can quickly realign that. Now, the caveat to this is that if you do have a knife that's been used many times, it's been whatever condition it is, it's at that point where it's not sharp anymore, this tool will not realign and it will not make that sharp. So you'll need to either sharpen the knife yourself or take it to a professional and they can sharpen it. Beyond that, you have a knife that's mostly sharp. You can quickly realign the edge, and so here we go. So it's the basics of it are: you set your strop down, you set your knife down. So we're going to move from one end of the knife's edge to the other end, and so we're going to find the angle that we want, and there's no pressure involved with this movement. So it's simply setting the knife down on the leather. The weight of the knife on the leather is pretty much the maximum pressure that you want to put on it. So I have the angle that I want, and here are the basic motions. So one more thing, for every strop, for every time you're going to stroke the knife across the leather, you will do it equal number of times for the left side and for the right side. So here we are. And here are the basic motions. So it's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and so on and so forth. So whatever your number is that you're going to do, be it 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, you complete that cycle, and then you check. If you're comfortable doing this, if you're not, don't touch the edge at all. I don't recommend that. The simplest way to test it and safe, if you're not comfortable with it, is using a piece of paper and simply slicing into it. So you can see that this edge is sharp enough that it's making a clean slice through the paper. There's no point where it gets snagged or there's a bump in it. So you can see that the leather knife strop is very easy to use and very quick to use. I actually have in my kitchen in front of my cutting board, I have a holder of sorts where I can keep my strop. And so I'll pull that down and I'll quickly set it up, and I probably do as often as I use my knife. So I'm using my generic knife in my kitchen probably, I don't know, every day, 7 days a week, maybe 6 days a week. Every time I get ready to cut more than, if you're slicing a piece of cheese or something, you probably don't need to worry about it. But if you're cutting up ingredients for a soup or for a salad or something like that, it's simply really less than 30 seconds. You just pull this tool down, and I will probably strop 5 to 7 times on each side. And after you do it long enough, you don't need to test it with the paper. You just, you can, if you don't feel comfortable touching the edge, don't do that. But I simply test it like this, and by feel, I know that the line is the edge rather is realigned. And there's really no harm to be doing it every single time. I would say I would not recommend if you're getting ready to prepare a meal and you're going to strop 20, 30, 40 times. It's not necessarily the case that the more times that you're doing it, that it's going to make a finer edge. You're simply aligning the edge. If it has tilted one way or the other, you're aligning it. So the risk of overstropping is that you're going to realign the edge, and possibly it's going to tilt the other way as a result, or one way or the other, as a result of stropping an exceedingly high number of times, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is that you may deal. It may be the case that you have a knife and the edge is not sharp, and you think that you may be able to realign it by using this, and so you're continually stropping and you're not finding that edge. That's probably a good indication that you need to sharpen the knife rather than just use the strop. Beyond that, using a strop after you've sharpened a knife is highly, highly recommended to be the last kind of final step before you use the knife. So you've used your coarse stone, your finishing stone, however many stones you're using. You have, if you use a cork to remove the fine bits of the edge, you can do that. Whatever your system is. The last step that I always do is I take my strop and I give it probably 5 to 7 to 10 on each side, and it really just, as sharp as it is, before you use this, you'll find that it just has that extra bit. So this is a product that I highly recommend for day-to-day maintenance on knives. As important as it is to have the proper cutting board with a knife, if you have a knife that you really care about, you want to maintain its sharpness, you want to ensure that you're doing all you can to maximize the potential of the edge. If you're using a plastic cutting board and you have a very nice knife that you value highly, I don't recommend using a plastic cutting board or bamboo. The Hinoki cutting boards that I have available at hinokikitchencraft.com, they're some of the best cutting boards that I've ever used, and really I'm honored that I'm able to sell them. So as much as I recommend proper cutting boards, I recommend an accessory that can maximize potential of your knife. And the Hinoki Leather Knife Strop, I believe, is just that tool, and that's why I made it. So thanks for watching. I hope that you check it out, and if it's something that works for you and your cooking style, well, that's great. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.